Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Striation 6 podcast. I am your host, Sam Trotta. I am the owner of Striation 6. And as it is with every episode of this podcast, my goal is to bring you free information to help you feel, function, look, and live better through exercise, nutrition, and any health or lifestyle management information that can help you live your best, highest, healthiest quality of life. And I am privileged beyond belief, at least in my view, today to have my friend and colleague in the exercise and fitness industry, Debra Basch, join me on the show. Debra was one of my earliest mentors and someone I looked up to in the exercise industry when I was just a young pup back in 2003. We worked together, and she's just an unbelievable person and is going to give you some great information today about cortisol, what you should be thinking about when it comes to cortisol. Is there an issue with your cortisol that actually needs to be addressed? What is going on here? It's one of the fitness industry's latest buzzwords, and I don't want you swept up in the marketing hoopla. A bit about Debra before we get started. Debra Basch is a coach at Lady the F Up, a registered nutritionist, a certified hormone specialist, and post-rehab medical exercise specialist with more than 35 years of experience in fitness, nutrition, and behavioral change. She also spent 18 years as a post-secondary professor in fitness and health promotion, educating future fitness professionals. Debra specializes in helping women improve body composition, build strength, navigate hormone changes, and create sustainable habits that last. Combining evidence-based nutrition, exercise, and mindset coaching, she's known for her straightforward educational approach that empowers women to achieve lasting results. With that, please enjoy my conversation with Coach Debra Basch.
Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me on here to speak. I always enjoy having a really good conversation with, a like-minded fitness professional, and we've known each other for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I think that what my experience has been, once you've gone through decades of being in this space, you've seen things come and go, come and go, come and go, and you realize that there really is no other way to get in shape and get healthy than the old-fashioned way.
Right.
And which is proper nutrition, proper recovery, contracting your muscles, some cardiovascular exercise. And I know that that's not what this podcast today is about.
No, it's okay.
It's the topic of cortisol is great because there's a lot of truth out there that's been mixed with misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
And the nuance is really important because cortisol matters, but it's rarely the primary reason why somebody is carrying excess body fat. And
Right.
so when I get on a call with a woman, because typically that's my demographic, especially women over 40, this is the first thing they say: I am so stressed, it's my hormones. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, and are you still getting a monthly period? Yes. I go, okay, well, things are still there. They might be shifting, obviously, but things are still there for you. Well, it's my cortisol. And, when I start to talk to them, I always preface it with, I'm probably going to upset you with this, but cortisol is the new scapegoat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Years ago, it was insulin.
Right.
And and until about 3 years ago, nobody was talking about perimenopause or menopause. And once everybody went "Blah, blah, blah," about estrogen and progesterone, now they got to talk about something else. So now cortisol is under the microscope. And the reality is that it's much less exciting to understand cortisol, but it's much more empowering, right? People
Sure.
don't gain 30 pounds because they have high cortisol. They gain the weight because of the behaviors that often come with chronic stress. And so
Right.
that was what my post was about. And that's what I tell every woman. It's the behaviors that are coming with the chronic stress.
Right. So just to give everyone who's listening a bit of a background here. So I've known Debra for 23 years now, and I follow her on social media. I love the work that she does. I love the work that her whole team does. I think it's very dialed. I love the message, the central message by Lady the F Up and Hammer Fitness. I'm great admirers of those businesses and of Deb in particular because I've known you for so long and you were so influential to me when I first started in the industry and now too. It's great seeing you. And she put up this Instagram post the other day talking about the realities of cortisol. And it's not an area where, like, frankly, it's not an area that I know much about, but I'm seeing the buzzword as you alluded to, a couple of minutes ago. And it's kind of like, okay, same old story with the fitness industry. We've got a kernel of truth in something and it gets blown up to like, no, 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 this is the thing you have to fix to look like a fitness model or, whatever it is that you're trying to look like. So, Deb, can you tell the people a bit about yourself, like sort of just your background and what got you interested in working with a particular demographic that you work with?
Okay, sure. Thank you for the introduction. I've been in this industry for over 35 years, well over 35 years. I was in it before you had to get credentials, you know, just had to look good and move. But I've taught, at the post-secondary level for 18 years. I love being fit and I love helping women to become fit. I do work with men. That's just kind of like on the back burner. Usually they're the partners of the women that I'm working with.
Okay.
And the one thing that I think that I have done very well, and I am going to give myself a pat on the back, is that I know when I've come to the end of an era or where I'm useful and I know how to pivot. So throughout my career, I really have focused where I am in that space and what I'm doing to keep myself healthy. So being 61, I don't eat and work out the same way I did in my 20s
Mm.
or my 30s or my 40s or even my 50s. And I want to show women that stop telling me that you could go out Friday night and Saturday night and drink and be fine on Sunday because it doesn't work anymore. And so what I've done is made sure that I stay relevant, current, educated for each decade so that I can be able to help, hopefully an inspiration and an anchor because a lot of the fitness influencers don't necessarily, they can talk about perimenopause and menopause and cortisol and insulin, but when you're 35, I'm sorry, you don't have the chops behind you to tell somebody who's 65 exactly what to do, or maybe even the influence over them because they don't buy what you're saying. So that's what I do. I help women, generally over 40, get to the root of the problem of why they can't get into shape. And that's not just fat loss, Sam. That's building muscle. I've had a lot of women that have said like, well, I don't need to lose any weight. I'm really, really thin and I'm running, 60 kilometers a week,
Oh
but
my gosh.
they're very severely undermuscled or they're underfed and they don't understand like why am I soft and when I'm doing all this exercise. So that's really what I do. I just take
Yeah,
what people want
I
and
love what you said about staying current. It's like there's I think they call that wisdom. You know what I mean? Like you combine your sort of objective knowledge with a whole bunch of trial and error with people in the demographic, and then you are the demographic and you live it yourself. And having the experience doesn't necessarily make you an expert, but it can certainly add to your level of expertise, right? Which is I think it sounded
yeah,
like to me that's what you were saying.
right. I being 61 doesn't automatically make me an expert.
Yes.
It makes me be able to say, this is what I have learned, and this
Hmm.
is what I've applied, and this is what I realized didn't work. And let's take where you are and customize something for you. Because what works for me, using myself as first person experience is absolutely the worst thing I can do because I have a background of 61 years of what brought me to here.
Right.
Somebody who has a background of yo-yo dieting and has always struggled, well, no, it's got to be a very different approach. But the main thing is that I've been able to help people identify what the habits that they aren't doing that need to be done, the habits that they are doing that they likely have to break up with or minimize, and work it into a sustainable way of living. And a good chunk of that is weeding through all the BS that people are picking up because let's face it, there's no lack of information out there.
Well, there's too much information, if anything.
Yeah. So it's not that people are coming to us not knowing what to do. They're coming with taking sound bites from every influencer, every doctor, every Instagram, YouTube, whatever TikTok post that they can get their hands on. And they might try something for 3 days and go, oh, this doesn't work. And then try something for 3 weeks. Oh, this doesn't work. And they're swinging and, that pendulum's just going all over the place. So when I
Yeah,
say that I've been very good at, zeroing in on my demographic is like we're all, you know, uh, victims to hearing information and going, oh, would that work? And then realizing, okay, this is true, this isn't, and again, it's there's no one way, there's no approach, but my post was to say, ladies, you might have high cortisol. And if it's first thing in the morning, yay, that's good. It's going
yeah,
to help you get up.
right,
If it's still really high at night, that's a problem. Why is it a problem? Because it's probably affecting your workouts and
right,
the way you're eating and the choice of food you're going for and your hydration and your recovery, because cortisol isn't the villain. And I want to really make that really clear. It's essential. It keeps you alive. It regulates your blood sugar. It helps you wake up in the morning. It helps you to respond to exercise. And without cortisol, you wouldn't function. So it's not a bad hormone at all. But to hear people talk about it, you would think that it's horrible. The problem is that when it's chronically elevated, through stress, coupled with inadequate recovery, you're
hmm,
going to have issues. And stress just isn't stress from having a fight with your partner or work or bad traffic. Stress can come from all areas of life, like a nervous system that never quiets, or too much exercise, or severely under eating, or the one I love the most, cutting all your carbs out. Like
yeah.
there's just so many reasons, and that's the job is to play the detective and figure out what's going on.
Right. So you sort of gave us the a part at least of like a cortisol 101 there. So we got it's a hormone, it's a stress hormone. It can be helpful or it is helpful. It's essential in
Very.
the appropriate let's say amounts, so the appropriate doses, the appropriate amount of release, particularly first thing in the morning. And in fact, I think the my understanding is the mechanism for the recommendation or from the recommendation to view sunlight first thing in the morning is actually to help spike your cortisol upon waking or to help elevate your cortisol upon waking so that you can actually wake for the day and set your circadian rhythm. Does that sound right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
so what are some signs? What should people be looking for or what might people look for that would indicate that cortisol is present in excess in their systems?
Well, y
Or if there's a better question, let me
okay.
know. Like I'm asking questions.
No, no, it's a good question, but that's a question that would have to be really be evaluated through blood work.
Okay.
Okay. So there's really no, I mean, I'm sure there's somebody working out there looking or working on, if maybe they have already, strips that you can, test your own cortisol at home. I'm sure of it because why wouldn't you? It's a good business.
Right.
Like think about it. If you're talking about cortisol being really high, then what can you do? You can turn around and sell a detox or you can sell a plan like let's bring your cortisol levels down. So it's again just selling something or getting people to be focused in on what's high. What the real question is, and if the question is, my cortisol levels too high, therefore I'm not getting the results that I want, then the question should be more like, what are your sleep habits like? Are you
Mm.
craving highly palatable foods all the time? Are you eating more calories because your energy is dipping up and down? And so, you know, your metabolic hormones, like your hunger hormones, are going through the roof, and your satiety hormone, leptin, is like kind of flatlining. What's your recovery like? Like, are you always sore? Are you training with less intensity? Are you then getting to the point where you're actually skipping workouts because you're just exhausted? Are you drinking more alcohol? Are you making overall poorer food choices? Because those behaviors, not really cortisol itself, are what typically drive the fat gain or the blunted gains that you want in the gym. And whether that's, to do a body recomposition of gaining muscle and losing body fat, or just gaining muscle, or, you know, just overall trying to get leaner. And when people aren't, what I have found, when people aren't getting those results, they start to look for, there's got to be an outside force here.
Yeah.
It can't be them. And then you get the victim mentality that's created on, sorry, but it's created by social media. Social media has made cortisol sound like something that just happens to you instead of something that you can influence.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I have high cortisol with a giant glass of wine and a whole bunch of cookies sitting next to me. Like, well, maybe you do, but maybe you don't have to.
Yeah, or you're averaging 5 hours of sleep,
Yeah.
and then you're eating ultra processed foods, you're drinking every weekend, you're missing workouts, you're not, and by missing workouts, you're also not managing your stress. So it's so much easier to blame the hormones than the person who's making the poor choices.
So that actually brings up an interesting point for me. So let's say there's someone who's not really exercising, or they're more, let's say their definition of I exercise regularly is I go for like a passeggiata, like a walk after dinner kind of thing. It's not really getting their heart rate up. It's not really challenging the muscle system, but it's healthy movement. It's good at steps. But they,
Yeah.
how can adding regular, let's say there's someone, particularly a woman, let's say of perimenopausal or menopausal age, who's in that state when it comes to their exercise, how can adding exercise or a different kind of exercise have a positive effect on cortisol levels, or can it have a positive effect on cortisol levels? Like if there are women out there, if there are people out there who are sort of stuck in this limbo of I don't know what to do from an exercise perspective to help this situation. What's your lens on that?
First of all, we have to define what are their goals, because the protocols for somebody who wants to gain muscle
Hmm.
and, do a body recomposition, and they're not really too worried about scale or, losing actual weight. Because my favorite thing to say to people is like, okay, if you just want to lose weight, chop your leg off, you'll lose
Yeah,
weight. Like,
yeah.
right? Like, it's gone. But if you're trying to actually change your body composition, then we have to make a very intentional program for that, with nutrition, resistance training, recovery, and maybe a little bit of movement, like you said, like the walking is great. So once you've defined somebody's goals, and they have to be very clear on what their goals are, you then have to look at what their lifestyle is and what can they actually tolerate.
Hmm.
Because capacity and tolerance are two things that many, and I did this myself as a new trainer. I feel horrible. I go back 35 years and I think, oh my God, those poor people. Who are you? I don't remember you. I want to say, I'm so sorry that I made you 90-minute programs 6 days a week. My bad. Didn't
Yeah.
didn't take into consideration that you wanted to have a life. So you have to look at someone's capacities, their tolerance, what they're willing to do. And then you have to be honest. Okay, you can only do this twice a week. You're not going to see the results that you want, depending on how, how great the goal is, in 8 weeks or 12 weeks.
Hmm.
So I, again, go with the mindset that there's no end limit. There's no cutoff date. That's only good for photo shoots and weddings, bar mitzvahs, or whatever. It should be like, okay, I want to get healthier. I want to incorporate this in my life, and there is no deadline.
Mm,
Deadlines, I know, put some stress on people to stay with it. I shy away from that a little bit because I'd rather somebody fall in love with the process and the habits, and that the results will come along with that. So back to your original question, how do you do it? You do it based on what the person is ready to take on.
okay.
So if somebody's here eating processed foods all day and not sleeping and drinking and not working out, they're not going to be your 5 day a week client unless they're coming to see you at the gym. And I would almost want to guarantee you that maybe for the first 2 weeks they're going to show up and then they're going to start canceling because that's
Mm,
a lot. So once you've figured out what the minimum effective dose is, and that's something that I have to give credit to Amber for, our CEO for Hammer Fitness.
yes.
He has stressed to his staff that he does not want us doing anything at the expense of it for a transformation or goals at the expense of the client. So we always go with the minimum effective dose, meaning what what's going to make the best impact with minimal invasion into their life. Like let's get it right so that because we can always add on, but don't go in there, with 16 guns blazing at them and making them, because they're just going to burn out, or you're going to wreck their hormone health, or you're going to get them injured. So that's really important, that capacity and tolerance is always in the forefront of any fitness professional's mind, because you're going to get the most out of the client, and you're going to be seen as honest and trustworthy. You might lose the sale if you're talking to somebody, though. They might be like, "Oh no, that I need somebody that's going to be like, okay, good.
Hmm.
I'm more about longevity. I really want you to be healthy for your life, not just for 8 weeks." And then when you've
Sorry.
done that, you're finding ways that they can do it. It's maybe tracking macros and is just too far out there, but a meal plan with lots and lots of options. Are you giving them exact amounts to eat, or are you just saying, I want you to try and eat, 6 fistfuls of fruits and vegetables a day. Like Sam, it's there's so much nuance to all of this
Sure.
that it's really hard to say, and I will never say this, do this,
Hmm.
do this, do this, do this, because that would just show my ignorance, I think, as a fitness professional, because I have to see everybody through a very uh, dialed in lens on them and where they are, where they've been, and where they are currently.
Yeah, I mean, your answer doesn't surprise me. I appreciate where you're coming from. It also doesn't surprise me what you mentioned about Amber. I'm always been a big fan of Amber's. I've always enjoyed interacting with him whenever I've gotten to, and that you and the team bring that individual lens to the table with all of your clients. I mean, I think it speaks to integrity. We have a similar what's the word? I guess communication system or communication policy here, like with the bodywork stuff we do, the muscle system work we do, trying to help people in pain solve these pain problems.
Mhm.
If we don't think we can help you, or your expectations don't match what our service can provide, we'll refer you out. We'll tell you to politely, like no malice, just go elsewhere. If you need this thing solved in 6 weeks, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can do that.
Excellent.
And if it's just not an appropriate case, listen, I'd love to help you, but I don't think I can. You potentially have a torn ligament or something like that. That's a medical issue. That's a medical
Right,
issue. So yeah,
right, right.
like going back to the whole individual lens, I think it is the way. And it's like I think for people like us who try to keep that integrity, the volume of clients may seem relatively limited at times to the people who scale into these apps that just bring on tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people. But the clients we get, the changes that are made are spectacular,
Right.
and they last. And they last because people have become engaged in a process that sticks for the long term.
We used to do a lot of 60-day challenges and we still, they're not off the table. But one of the principals for Lady the F Up, Lexi Ward, came up with this program this year called Project 180.
I've
And
seen it. Yeah.
you had to commit to us for 180 days. And there was no guarantee that by the end of 180 days that you would have the goals that you wanted. But what we knew is that you would understand your nervous system better.
Hmm.
You would understand how to eat for your goals. You would understand how to properly train and exercise because we educated them that, resistance training, exercise, everyone's like, exercise raises cortisol. Okay, but temporarily, and that's normal. But resistance training also raises your growth hormone, testosterone, muscle protein synthesis, insulin sensitivity. So we we wanted to teach these women that acute cortisol elevations during training are actually healthy because of this. And because many of these women had that mindset. That's why I'm bringing up the cortisol again, is because they were like, oh, I'm so stressed. It's my cortisol, you
Right.
know? And but we did guarantee them that they would have this knowledge and just how their bodies are reacting to stress and other things. We did a lot. We brought therapists in and did talks and things like that. And the women that saw it through, and I would say there was probably a few that dropped out because they just, as anything.
Yeah,
And
of course.
but the ones that stayed right through to the end surprisingly did have very good results. But more importantly, they're still continuing on. Most of my women, I started with 12 and I've nine have stayed on.
Right.
They
Good.
they see this journey now as a very different journey. And they see that, wow, I'm actually doing things in my life that I've never done before, like I more self-confidence and all the things that we talk about that fitness brings, but that really they get pushed aside all the time because we're so busy arguing about cortisol and insulin. We're forgetting about what really fitness is about.
Yeah, I think things like cortisol and insulin, I mean, you could go to any sort of adjacent health field, whether it's mental health or other forms of physical health. I think with the social media era, I mean, I'm gonna make myself sound like an old man here, but like with the social media era, one of the things that's gone on is we've learned as a culture to externalize responsibility for ourselves. And, while your stress may be real and your trauma is absolutely real, and all these things that have happened to you and all these things that are going on in your body are absolutely real, externalizing the responsibility and thereby becoming a victim or looking entirely outside of yourself for a fix just keeps you in the loop of whatever negative experience you're having. And
Right.
so, like taking into account everything that might go on in a person's system to drive their cortisol up into excessive levels for sustained periods of time, that then prevents them from losing fat, and it becomes this positive feedback loop where they can't lose body fat, they can't sleep, so they crave more junk food and are less,
Mhm.
apt to exercise and all that kind of stuff. I mean, now I'm just a victim of my cortisol. Like, I don't like that. That doesn't, I'm like getting all icky just thinking about that versus like what is the minimum I can do to actually take some responsibility and if not move this thing in the other direction, stop it or slow it down at least from going in the direction that it's going.
Right. And that's an excellent way of putting it because if if you're stressed and your work, say, you could be working in a very high stressful desk job. And I say desk job because you're sitting. Primarily you're sitting. and you work a 16-hour day, and then you go out and you have a couple of drinks or you get takeout, crappy food, and then you're going to want to decompress. And maybe you stay up late because you just need to, like, I have women that say to me, Deborah, I can't go to bed at 10:30 because my family's still awake. And from 10:30 to 12:30 is my private time where no
Mm,
one talks to me. And then I've got 2 hours or an hour just to myself without work. And then, at 12:30, I'm trying to turn off my brain. I don't fall asleep till 1:30. I can't get up at 6 and go exercise. Well, I go,
mm,
of course you can't. And you're probably eating, and they're going, and I'm snacking during that time. So you make a good point. Yeah, the cortisol levels are high, but is it, the cart or the horse? You're
hmm.
staying up late, you're eating highly palatable, crappy food, you're not getting the sleep, you're not doing any kind of stress relief. And I'm sorry, but yes, meditation will only take you so far. You're not exercising, and then it's this big loop. It's this big loop, and you're falling asleep at 1:30 in the morning or 12:30. You don't want to be getting up at 5 to go to the gym before you start your busy day again. And some people work 7 in the morning till 8 at night, and that's
Yeah.
just the reality. So, it's finding, okay, well, where do we make these things fit? And I've yet to have somebody that we can't come up with something that will work, but it often is a hard sell because sometimes people just don't believe that 20 minutes or 30 minutes or making a few small changes here or there are going to be enough. And so they would almost rather put their money into a package detox or, some a cortisol reducing diet. Like, okay,
Yeah.
eat fruits, vegetables, and lean protein and some healthy fats. Keep your
Sounds
fiber
good to me.
high,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But then on the flip side, you've got all this noise about that cortisol's causing the belly fat. And then all those poor women in, over 40 that are starting to see their bodies change, they're now convinced, okay, so I am stressed, I am going through perimenopause, I think, I don't know. It's shocking to me how many women that are 45 and go, I don't think I'm in perimenopause. You don't know your cycle. Like you don't, women they just don't understand all
Oh
that stuff.
no. Yeah.
So then that's another topic. But then they're putting 1 plus 1 equals 3,
Right.
right? And the answer is, does cortisol cause belly fat? Not directly in healthy people, but research does show that, chronic stress can contribute to it, like to sort of the preferential abdominal fat storage area that we don't like. But the effect of that type of belly fat is modest compared with people that don't know what their calorie intake is, the people that have physical inactivity, menopause related estrogen decline, loss of muscle, poor sleep. It's the cortisol itself is rarely the dominant factor. And I guess, that's I hope that people take that message away with them today, that it is rarely the dominant factor.
Hmm.
I'm
That's a
sure
great, I
we have
think it's a great point.
outliers, and I'm sure, like, working with a doctor and doing medical testing and you see the bloods and the rise of the hormone. That's the thing with hormones, right? They're dynamic. They're going to change as you change. They're going to react as to what you do.
Yeah. Get your cortisol tested, an hour after you've had a hard workout versus,
Right.
later on in the day or on a rest day or something like that, or on a, right after you've been to a 7 day silent meditation yoga retreat. Like they're going to
Exactly.
be very,
So
very different. Yeah.
it's the same with getting your estrogen and your progesterone levels tested all the time. Like, all these very expensive tests. Great. Now what are we going to do with that information? Because we still have to move, we still have to build muscle, we still have to maintain muscle contractions, we still have to sleep, we still have to keep hydrated, we still have to eat adequate amounts of protein, we still have to have grains and fruits and vegetables. So we're right back to common sense.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, go great. It's right back to common sense, and it's there's this. How's it? Okay, I'm gonna mispronounce this, but there's this Yiddish word, sechel, and it means common sense. But there's this like it sort of means common sense, but my understanding from people who know the language is there's this undertone of it where it's like common sense that's not actually common. It's
Right.
like it ought to be common because it's just the thing that's sort of most logical and most it's right in front of you. There's all this evidence for it, but you're looking for these other reasons instead. And the only thing that can reconcile that in my mind is that there's some kind of psychological block for a person to, not letting that third glass of wine go, or not letting the stay up late Netflix binge watching go, or not let the donuts go, or whatever it is that might be keeping them sort of stuck in this loop. And like I'm a big proponent of this is on an individual basis, creating balance. I mean, if you, depending on what your goals are and depending on what you're willing to do, finding the appropriate balance to have what you would want from a lifestyle perspective and quality of life perspective, balanced, so to speak, with a health perspective. I mean, that's essential. That needs to be clear. If someone says, no, no, I want to drop this weight, or I want to do this body recomposition, or, in my case, like I want to move pain free. I mean, my biggest thing with people is, hey, do you mind? Can you, like, with myself, let's say, like, forget my clients, like, saying to myself, hey, buddy, can you take a break from jujitsu for a little bit so that you can
Yeah.
actually solve your body problems and go back to the mat healthy and actually enjoy it versus having to, tell everybody that you're training with every 30 seconds, hey, 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 I got an injury here. Like, don't go near my
Right.
ankle. It's no good. That's no way to live. That's no way to
No,
live.
it isn't. And some people can only give 10%.
Hmm.
And so if you can give 100% to that 10%,
Yes.
great. Because there may be another time when you can, like all my clients that are teachers, they love the summer because now they can just focus in on themselves. And
Right.
I go, great. So we can push a bit more during the summer if that's what you want. And then when September rolls around or the end of August, when you're going back into the classroom and you're doing, well, we've got to, as you say, you call it balance. We've got to find that because to me, balance never means 50-50. Sometimes it's 90-10, sometimes it's 30-70. It's
Exactly.
whatever's going to work. And it should, your balance number should be dynamic.
Yeah. It's like
Meaning,
the
right?
concept of homeostasis, like that shifting sense of balance or equilibrium in the system.
Right, exactly. But, I think that we have the hardest job in the world because nobody finds it easy to sell exercise and
Yeah.
diet modifications. And I don't mean diet in the sense of like the 1970s. I mean nutrition. Um, it's it's a hard sell. And I don't want to sound awful when I say because people are lazy, but what people see is like, oh my God, especially people I think live in the city, especially, they're go, 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 go. Couple kids running here and there, they've got the demands on them. And then you're saying to them, but you just have to get to the gym or go down to your basement 3 times a week, and you just have
Mhm.
to, meal prep, and you just and just make sure you're always getting the protein, and like it is a hard sell because all people hear is like they think I'm doing all of this plus I have to do all of this, and
Mhm.
it's no. All of this needs to be, we need to start weeding out what needs to go
Yeah. Yeah.
and to make room for this so that you will have better energy and a better mindset and better health to continue doing the carpools or the career or going to night school and doing all the things that you want to do. And that's always the biggest challenge. And when I say sell, I don't mean in terms of monetary. I just mean that if that's not how you're if you're not like if that's not your mindset, you're not going to do it. I mean, my partner will be happy to go out if you told him go chop wood for 5 hours.
Yeah.
in the beating sun or in sub minus 40 temp, he'd do it happily.
My kind of guy.
You
Love
should
that.
see his face on a Friday morning when we go to the gym together. Hate it. I suck. I don't like the gym. I don't like the people. Oh, don't touch me. You just touched equipment. Like he is a bear. He hates the gym.
Yeah.
Does he go 4 times a week? Yes.
Yeah.
3 of those times without me because I can't go with him. But he does it because he knows he has to. He goes, I have to. I'm 61 years old and I like how I feel and I like that I'm fitter and stronger. But, you know, one thing I'm glad about is that he doesn't say to me my cortisol levels. I'm
That's
grateful
awesome.
for that.
You're like, God, he comes home talking about cortisol levels. You're like, oh, I got to deal with this at home too, right?
Well,
Yeah.
no, it's on FaceTime. We don't live together. He lives 75 kilometers away.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, if I
Still
heard
though.
that, I would be like,
Yeah.
sorry, getting another call.
Gotta go. Deb, what's thank you for your time today. This has been excellent. I always love
Did
hearing
I
your
answer your
perspective.
question?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I didn't
Okay.
really have a specific question. My goal with this podcast is like let's get information out there for from people who know what they're talking about to people who want to, have information that they can actually use. So I don't know if I had a specific question, but all the information you provided, I mean, I find it quite valuable. And bonus, I love that I always love speaking to like-minded, aligned people who
Yeah,
approach this industry and this profession with integrity and as professionals. So I appreciate that about you. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. I will just sort of leave this one last thought that why I wanted to make the post and why the internet loves cortisol. And like I said, is because it sells, right? It's so much easier to market cortisol detox, cortisol supplements, adrenal cocktails. Oh, that was a good one. Somebody sent me this once. Is this an adrenal cocktail? I was like, no, it looks like electrolytes. Hormone resets, cortisol belly fixes, all of that. People will snag on to that because that seems very easy and it's all they have to do is part with some money. But to market what we do, which is you need 7 hours of sleep, try and get 8,000 steps, do your resistance training, eat your protein, plan your meals, keep the consistency for 12 months, not 12 days. You're not going to get as many clicks on that.
Right.
The
Right.
latter will give you the results. The former will just get you poorer and frustrated. And so that's why I made that post. And it was, you know, I also like to like poke the bear a little bit, and I don't mind if I piss a few people off. Sorry if I used the wrong word, but
No, it's okay. Like, I mean, I follow a whole bunch of the coaches on the team, and I find that on the Lady the EF Up and the Hammer Fitness team, and I sort of I love that the team seems to have a culture of deliver the straight goods, do it with definitely a level of empathy, but also don't pull punches on calling bullshit where there's bullshit. And I think the industry needs that. I think our clients need that. I haven't found a way to do it yet where I'm comfortable in my own skin doing it, but I'm looking for it. And that's why I appreciate you guys so much.
well, thank you. And I'll tell you, you get to my age and you're just like, yeah, it's okay. I don't I popularity has never been my number one goal. Um, so it's funny though, the more authentic I've become over the years, the more popular I've been with the people that appreciate my authenticity.
Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna
And
go
the ones
niche.
that don't, well, that's okay. That's okay.
Oh, that's great. Deb, thank you so much for your time
You're
today. This was
welcome.
awesome. How can people find you? Like I'm a big believer in rising tides raise all ships. If there are people out there that you can help, I want them to be able to find you. How can people contact you? What's the best way?
Well, I have an Instagram account. It's at coach underscore Debra, and my spell my name as Debra, then another underscore Bash, Basch. And if that's too much to write down and remember, our company page is at Lady the F Up. And if men are listening to this and they don't feel comfortable wanting to work with a female coach, we do have great coaches at hammerfitness.online. And I just thank you. Thank you for bringing me on. And, I remember when you started in this industry.
Oh God.
Yeah, you were young. No, you were like this young guy who was building houses, but you really had a passion for fitness, and you used to ask me so many questions, and you were so respectful and complimentary, and you were just always like, it was really nice sharing a gym floor and working with you. And
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed watching your transformation into not only becoming this very educated, well-versed fitness professional, but also a dad and a business owner. And you used to be my neighbor, and I really enjoyed
That's
that too.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really enjoyed seeing your beautiful little family when I would be coming home getting my mail. So
All right. Thanks
thank
so
you.
much, Deb. Yeah. I mean, great seeing you. Great seeing you.
Great
Thank you so
seeing you
much.
too. Okay. Bye.